Today, I'm keeping a promise to my husband's memory, by bringing on different veterans. And today I had the great honor of introducing you to, I don't want to say a retired Marine, because Marines never retire. Marines are always Marines. So this is Marine Sam Maynard. And Sam Maynard, we're going to get to, is going to talk about the contamination of the water at Camp Lejeune. And I'm very honored, Sam, to have you today, and I welcome you to my interview. Thank you for doing this for us, and I'm sure your audience is anxious to hear what you have to say. I'd like to start with 3 questions, Sam. When did you join the Marines?
I joined in 1986, right out of high school.
Were you drafted?
No, it was voluntary, but I knew war was coming. That's why I went.
Okay.
At least I got to choose my MOS.
So what was one special good memory that you can remember about being in the Marines?
Good memories, there was a lot. Hitting Mount Motherfucker, being the 4th Marine up, and I started 3 platoons behind. That was a proud moment.
All right, Sam, we're going to ask you, and I'm going to turn the stage over to you here. I've been researching the poisoning of the water at Camp Lejeune, and that ran from quite a few years. And I understand that you, who are now sitting in a wheelchair here, have suffered a lot of that because of this poisoning. So I'm going to turn the floor over to you, Sam, and I'd like you to tell us how you were exposed and what this has done to you. Okay, the floor is yours. Sam, go ahead.
Well, it's really weird because when you get poisoned ain't when you fall down. I got poisoned in '86 when I went in the Corps, but it didn't really hit until 2004. And I had already gone through college and got 2 degrees and had 10 years on the job at Weyerhaeuser, making 6 figures in 2004. It, boom, devastated. It was like a bomb drop.
Did it happen?
In '86, when I went through, when I hit Lejeune, which was my secondary school for being an electrician in 1141, I didn't know about the groundwater. It tasted weird. I had been doing yard work, waiting on school to start. And when I would do the ditches, you could see the water had an oily film. And there was nothing around to account for it. And the other thing that occurs to me is when I was doing guard duty at the ammo dump. In the nighttime, it would lay out, a fog would appear. It would rise up out of the ground at the ammo dump. And it would just have the tops of the bunker showing. And I had to walk through that shit to do guard duty.
It must have been tough to see.
It would come up in the night and disappear in the daylight. With the sun, it would just be like it wasn't even there.
So it was kind of invisible during the day when most people were around.
Yeah. When the sun was up, you could not see it. But at night you could. It would rise up out of the ground. And I know from being online with a lot of vets that have been at Lejeune, that it was pulled out of the ground up to 84 in dumpsters, rusting dumpster or barrels. I know the guy who was driving the 5-ton that took it out. You want to tell me Agent Orange wasn't there? I will prove to you it was.
So Sam, you essentially ate, drank, showered, and did everything in this poisonous water.
Yeah.
And when you got hit with it, when it finally got, what was the first symptom that you got?
Well, the first thing that happened was way before 2004 when it paralyzed me. I went through Lejeune. Well, let's see. Yeah, the first thing was the diabetes started. Within a few years after the service, I started hearing about diabetes and something called degenerative disc disease. I I don't know, whatever it is. Anyway, that was the first thing that showed up, and the diabetes just continued to get worse. I mean, it went from just high blood sugar to needing oral medication to insulin.
Yeah. Do you use an insulin pump?
No, I just have injectable needles, I think.
Yeah, so you have to inject yourself. How many times a day?
Twice.
Twice a day. And is that pretty much under control now?
I still fight it. I get 300 and 400 all the time.
Oh. So it's difficult to.
Yeah, it's.
Do you have diabetes? Do you have diabetes in your family, Sam? No, not at all.
Not a bit.
So this is not inherited at all.
I even have a brother 5 years older than me who went through the Marine Corps, who didn't go to Lejeune, who has nothing wrong with him. I mean, my blood brother.
Yeah, well, I'm very glad there's nothing wrong with your brother, but I don't want to hear that you are this way. So, Sam, when you finally wound up in the chair, that was from the disc problems?
Yeah, the C67. It evidently, when I fell off the pole in electrician school and it landed on my butt, they gave me Motrin, Valium, and 3 days off, and it messed up evidently my back. Long story short, they poisoned me. I fell off a pole. Then they stuck me in with a suicide for a couple of months, drove me to the nut ward, and got rid of me at 1 year and 3 months with a full honorable. That was my Marine Corps experience.
So you felt like you were discarded like yesterday's newspaper?
Well, kind of. I got out and I got a couple degrees, and then I got the job at Weyerhaeuser. But I basically wanted to get the fuck away from them at the moment because they locked me up in a nut ward, and it wasn't good.
No, I'll bet it wasn't. So, Sam, well, I think our purpose here of these interviews is to shine a light on the problems that our veterans had. Now, unfortunately for you and for my husband, my bud, is I can't do much about making it better for y'all. But what we can do, and what I want to do by telling your story, is to make it better for our next young warriors. If there's a light shown on the government, on the military, that makes them want to do a better job taking care of our fine men and women that are in the service, then I want to shine it as bright as I can. So, Sam, I would like to thank you today. And this Navy wife, you know, the Marines, I think you've been reading my Facebook thing on my book. You know that Marines are near and dear to me. They're very special to this Navy wife and widow and mom. You know, my son was in the Navy too. So I'm going to thank you, and I'm going to thank all the people out there. I put information on the side for a video which will help some of the young men and women, well, like Sam, who are in need of help in getting some information so that you can do your claim. Some of you might not realize that you're entitled to it, and some of you may be in the process. But this man that's in the video is very good, and I think he'll help you out. So, Sam, thank you so much for coming on today. I'm going to say goodbye now. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
One thing. There were 1 million Marines poisoned at Camp Lejeune up till '87. There were less than 200,000 of us still alive last year. Let that sink in.
That is a scary statistic. That's an unforgivable, nightmarish statistic. And I don't want it to happen again.
No. If you
No.
include dependents and on-base personnel, there were nearly 3 million people poisoned.
Yeah. Well, we're going to make sure it doesn't happen again by shining a light.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
and I'm so glad you joined.
Scream it from the rooftop.
Yeah. You and me both, kiddo. You and me both. So, Sam, I salute you.